Boom! What's up, guys? It's Steve Larsen. This is Sales Funnel Radio, and today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the book DotCom Secrets. Now, before we cut over to intro, which I love it, I want to share with you guys a little bit more about why this book was so important to me, and that's what this episode is about. I actually took the video that I filmed for bestmarketingresources.com. If you haven't checked that out yet, go do it. Bestmarketingresources.com is the resource I created. It's the page I created to share with you guys all the things that I'm using to build my business, okay? There's only a few of us in my company, and the reason why is because how a lot of these tools interact together back and forth with the way all the automation works. So anyways, I wanted to share a little bit though about this book, okay, DotCom Secrets. And the reason why DotCom Secrets has been so powerful for me and the story behind it, it is not just like I went and I just bought the book, okay? I actually want to share with you guys the story behind it, how I read it, where I read it, and what I did with it afterwards, which I think is pretty unique. And I know it's one of the reasons why I've been successful with this. I really only read the book 2 times, okay? But it was on such a crazy depth that was made it very, very effective. So anyways, let's cut over to the intro here, and I want to share with you guys the story behind why I actually grabbed this. And if you've not actually picked up this book is better than my entire marketing degree. Just this one alone, let alone the rest of the education that ClickFunnels comes out with. So anyways, let's cut over here, and I'm excited to share with you guys the story behind my first time getting the book DotCom Secrets. Thanks.
I've spent the last 4 years learning from the most brilliant marketers today. And now I've left my 9-to-5 to take the plunge and build my $1 million business. The real question is, how will I do it without VC funding or debt, completely from scratch? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I learn, apply, and share marketing strategies to grow my online business, using only today's best internet sales funnels. My name is Steve Larsen, and welcome to Sales Funnel Radio.
So in college, we were really poor. We were crazy poor. I kept spinning up all these little companies trying to get them to make money, and it took me about 17 tries to really get it off the ground. And it's funny because when I look back, meaning 17 actual businesses, and it wasn't like I was just kind of half-heartedly doing the businesses. I was full in. I mean, it was not uncommon for me to walk streets and try and sell people on the street. I mean, I wanted it real bad. And if you're like me, I mean, you want it, okay? You want it real bad, okay? And I was the kind of mentality, I still am, where I would go learn something and I wanted to make sure I understood it, but I also wanted to make sure, I wanted to try and make money off it as fast as I could as well. So I would go and I would learn something, and I would walk into, I remember once I pitched the owners of Vivint, Vivint Home Security. Not like the head honchos, but very, very similar, very close to, for that regional area. Anyway, it was an insurance company. Anyway, there's a bunch of people I did it to. A lot of pest control, a lot of door-to-door people, and I just pitched people, guys. And I didn't know what I was doing, and I was pretty much breaking every single rule that you could even imagine. But whatever, I was just running, okay? And it's because we were living on loans, student loans. I was in college, I was in the Army, I was in, went through basic training. We had a kid. I was married. I mean, already right there, I was in a very different demographic and life and place in life than a lot of people my age. And, I wanted to make cash. I wanted to be the provider for my family. And I found out that, a few weeks into marriage that my wife was eating just one meal a day behind my back. And she was doing that because we had such little cash. She didn't feel like she could eat. Okay? And this is kind of where crap hits the fan, And this is a true story. It's really happened. And it's a few weeks after we got married, and it was really hard. And I was like, crap, we gotta make some cash somehow. Like, how can we make money? This is about 6 years ago, almost 7. And what was interesting is she was sacrificing for me. Right, the amount of love, it was pretty intense, okay? And it still kind of brings me to my knees a little bit. I have a hard time talking about the story because if you're, men specifically get their identity a lot of times by what they do. And I wasn't doing anything, I was trying to, but I wasn't making any money. And so I was like, we got to make money somehow, at least get food on the table. And it was literally a, hey, how can we get food on the table scenario? And she was still packing lunches for me because she had already graduated college. I was still going. I was still working to finish. And so she would stay at home all day in bed while she was packing me a lunch. She'd eat one meal in the evening with me, and that was it. She was like super weak after just, quite, days and days and days of doing this, weeks and weeks of doing this. And when I found out, it wrecked me, guys. It destroyed me. It took away, my pride was gone, shot everything. I was like, we got to make money somehow. And so I was like, hey, I found out we could get student loans. And the student loans that we went and got, thankfully we could get them, but they weren't going to be there for like 4 to 6 weeks. There was a window for when it would show up. And I was like, 4 to 6 weeks, we're going to be dead in like 2. I was like, we're not going to make it. How are we going to do this? And I went and I did something that was culturally against the way I was raised. I called my dad and I asked him for money. Okay, I had jobs working like crazy my whole high school years. I had some cases multiple jobs. I worked a lot, and I'm not a stranger to hard work. I don't care if it was labor jobs. I'm glad I did labor jobs. I don't care if it was anyway. I worked and I knew how to work, and so for me to call and ask for money was not an easy thing to do. And I was the oldest of 6 kids. I mean, I still am. oldest of 6 kids. And I called my dad, and we were not poor growing up at all. We weren't like super wealthy, but we weren't poor. We weren't poor at all. We were middle class, and my dad provided well, very well. And so, I mean, he certainly had cash, and I knew that. And I called him and I said, hey, Dad, found out my wife's eating 1 meal a day. Could you float us like $3,000, and we'll pay you back as soon as these student loans come in? It made sense to me. And there's a long pause on the phone, and I was in this building, and I remember the sound of the AC above, and it was hot, and I took off my jacket, and I was pacing around this classroom on campus with the door closed, and I think the light was either off or dimmed, and I was literally walking in a square around the room, fast. I was walking fast, and I was like, whew. And the stress that started setting in was huge. And, for me, I remember I had to like work myself up to ask him this. And I said, hey, Dad, would you, give us the money? And there's a long pause on the phone. And I will never forget what he said here. He said, I remember how he said it and everything. He said, I'm going to turn to his voice. He said, son, no. If I give you this money now, you will not exhaust the resources that you didn't know you had. How cool of a dad. I mean, seriously, that's what he said. And it was quiet. And his answer was buck up, in a loving way. We cried, both of us, man tears, of course. I think we're flexing while we were doing it. But no, it was really hard. And I had this fire start in my gut that I think most entrepreneurs fail to ever learn. And I also learned how to get resourceful in a way that I think most people never learn themselves either. And I started running and sprinting, and I started trying stuff and because I always wanted to, and I love America, but also because of the money of it, I'll be honest, I joined the Army, right? And I went through basic training in the middle of college. I took a semester off and I went through basic training, and I was gone for, with all my training and all the things I was doing, I was gone for like 6 months. And a little while after I went back out for another extended period of time. And I had been running hard enough that I wanted to get, I started seeing, how should I say this? I stopped just reading books of wealthy people. I was reading them, and I was listening to the podcasts and their courses, and I was consuming like an animal. And I was learning way more on my own than I ever was learning in my classes. Way more, including all my entrepreneurship classes, all the classes where we had to go and start a business for that semester, and there was literally nothing else to do that whole semester. I was learning far more on my own, all of college, than any student ever was, okay? To the point where I was getting in fights with professors over stuff because I knew that what they were saying was wrong on some things. Some things they were obviously, I mean, it's not to say like everything's crap. That's not true. But there were some things I was like, that's not right. I know that's not right from experience now, and would kind of get in little tiffs about it. And anyway, so I was at one of these little Army training things, right? And I was laying in the dirt it was a month long, but I was laying in the dirt for 10 days. And I started watching what entrepreneurs were doing, not just what they say they were doing. Because some of them are so good, they don't know how good they are. You know what I mean? And so I was watching what they were doing, and one of the guys I came across was this guy named Russell Brunson, and you guys obviously know that I'm a fanatic of his. And it's because of this. It's because I had consumed so many courses by that time, so many books. I was fanatic, guys, fanatic. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to make money. And I'm not like, I wasn't like, hey, I want to blow the roof off and make millions. I just wanted like an extra grand a month. In fact, you can go back and watch the YouTube videos of me declaring that goal. I was like, hey, I'm just going to try and make an extra grand a month. And I didn't hit it, but I started making money. And the next year, next January, I was like, I'm going to try and do 3. And I didn't hit it, but I got close. And the next January after that, I was like, I'm going to try and do, I think I said 10. And I hit it. Right? And then after that, I was like, and you can watch me, the progression of it, guys. And a lot of it has to do with this book. And I read this book for the first time out on one of those Army trainings for 10 days. I was laying in the dirt. Okay? And I had my M16 in my right hand. Okay? In the prone. In my right arm, and I would pull, I would very carefully, in Army uniforms, there's a place for pens and pencils right here on the sleeve, which is really nice when you're doing like, nighttime, land navigation and stuff like, anyway, note taking in general. It's nice to have, anyway. So I would lay down in the prone, and I'd just be sitting there. And that's part of the discipline of it, just sitting there. And maybe I didn't have the discipline enough for it, because I would pull out this book from, there's pockets in the, in the uniform, and I kept this in a plastic bag. This isn't the same one. It was so loaded with dirt. By the time I was done, I gave it to some other soldier, and I should probably follow them. But anyway, and I had to get a new one. And anyway, right, it was $7.95 free plus shipping, right? It was free. I just paid the shipping. And even the $7.95 for me at the time was like this. Like, I really had to justify that. You know what I mean? I had to reach deep. But when I was sitting there for like days, and after the first day, realizing like I was gonna sit there for a few more days before our next orders came in for our next mission or whatever, I was like, I'm gonna read this book. And so I would pull this book out of a plastic bag, trying to go as carefully as I could so that like all the leaders and all these high-ranking officers and stuff wouldn't see what I was doing. So I'd go choose these obscure places to lay in so no one would know where I am, and I'd just sit there with this book, and I would just hang out there, just like this. And I'd hang out there and I'd read the book, and get good at turning pages with just one hand. And I'd read it like this. And and then when I was like, oh, that's really freaking good. Oh my gosh. I would lay down my M16, mag well to the right place I was, and I would go grab a pen and slowly, carefully write down the note, and then slip it back inside my uniform there, and pick the M16 back up and just lay there and keep reading. I was like, this is so, kind of like to the side like this. Wow, that's really good. Oh my gosh, this is freaking awesome. Why is no one talking about this stuff, And in the evenings, if we ever did have a few minutes, I wouldn't be like talking around. This is what I read. And I remember when I finished reading the book, it had rained the night before. Half my stuff was wet, and I was sitting on my sleeping bag on a tarp, and I finished reading the book. And I remember I closed it, and I set it down just kind of on my lap, but I kept my hand on it, and I just started thinking. I was like, dang, that's good. Man, that's good. Holy crap. And I remember just like turning to the closest person next to me. I don't remember his name. I remember what he looked like. And I just started like, just like barfing on him. All the stuff in here. And I remember I came back home, several weeks after that. I came back home and I was like, I gotta teach this to somebody. Like, how can I solidify this in my head? How can I put it in there more? I gotta get this in. So I read it again, right? I think I only read it 2 times, but I read it so slowly that I soaked up a ton. And then what I did next really, really made it stick in my head. What I did is I went, and there was a professor of mine, a teacher of mine, who was really, she was more like an assistant, but she was really trying to develop some assets as well in her life. And I could tell because I started getting known for this stuff. I started building funnels for people actually successfully. And it was cool. And word got passed around like that. And I started getting clients and referrals. And I was like, this is the first time, it took 17 tries for me to make something to work, right? Well, I was on maybe like number 15 by the time I read this. And then like the number of tries that I needed to actually, make something work got really, really short because they were so much more successful from the get-go. And so I went, and this lady, she was like, hey, would you swing over to my house? I'll invite all of my family over, all of my kids and my kids' kids over, and just teach us for like 3 hours. All right. I was like, cool. I didn't know what I was doing. So I went through and I took this book, and I went and I stood in just with a group of strangers. I mean, she was the only one out of the whole room I knew, and I just taught for 3 straight hours to this group of random people. And that's the true story. I never saw them again after that. I don't know what they did. She said that they were trying to figure out their value ladder. And they were trying to figure out, I was like, all right, cool. And you know, now I would tell you not to worry about it as much. Just worry about one step on it. But anyway, but it's interesting, guys, because I went through and I figured this out, right? And I started learning it, and then I taught it to somebody else, which made it stick in my head. And from that point on, my wallet got a lot fatter, okay? I stopped having to go like in 3 to 6 month swings like this. Instead, it was like this bit, just this, just this business, and then a little bit, few tweaks, and then what? Check that out, it's working. In fact, the business that I created off of this is the very business that I finished creating when I left ClickFunnels. What? Isn't that funny? Stuff works. Okay, this book is ridiculous. This book changed my life. This book has changed a lot of my friends' lives, a lot of my family members' lives, a lot of my students' lives, and I'm a fanatic over it. Okay, this is one of those books that's always next to me by the shelf. I reference it like crazy. Okay, this is like if you haven't read this in your online business, I think you're a joke. It's true. Or if you're like, hey, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna build something. I don't even care what's online or offline now. Like you gotta read this book. Okay, this book, the book Expert Secrets, a few others. They're probably. I mean, there's a lot of books that are out there that I know I'll continue to read, but I also know that I could not read any other book the rest of my life, and I still would probably be more than well off, like because of what it's taught. That's a bold statement. Okay. Anyway, so go read these and do it with an open mind, and do it in a way where you're like, okay, whatever this guy says. Instead of saying, man, this isn't true, act like, what if it is true? Okay? There's nothing that's far-fetched in here, and it's a very easy read. I'm not a fast reader. I'm actually a very slow reader. Meaning I can read quickly, but like takes so long, because I'll read a paragraph and I'm like, oh man, what about this? And the connections here, and like, and I take all these notes, and it takes me forever to get from one page to the next. It takes me forever. Anyway. Literal scripts of how to sell stuff are in here. I mean, this is literally what I did when I launched the first funnel I made. The first funnel I made that was successful, and it ended up doing $1,000 a week for over a year, and that was more money than we'd ever seen in our entire life. And from going from, hey, we're eating 1 meal a day, right, and feeling like nothing, to even just that, right? My goal was just $1,000 a month, and it went to $1,000 a week, and I was like, okay, that was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Where was this information a while ago, right? That was life-changing for me. So anyway, hey guys, use the link down below. It's my affiliate link. If you like that story at all, that's literally the story. I don't promote things to you that I don't stand behind. I stand behind this like crazy. And this book was life-changing to me. There's several other books that are like that. This one, though, you know, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki, that's like most entrepreneurs' gateway drug. This book, though, was like the gateway drug to actually making money from what Rich Dad Poor Dad was talking about, right? This is like how to actually do. I feel like the subheadline should be how to actually do what Robert Kiyosaki was talking about. Here you go. Anyway, just because it says .com Secrets, I don't want you to freak out. Everything that I do that's offline also comes from this book as well. You don't need to be a techie for this. Anyway, hey guys, hopefully this is helpful. Use the link down below. Go get your copy. It's free. If you feel inclined, buy the upsells. They'll be worth more than the money he asks you for. A lot of the scripts, a lot of things that I create. In fact, the first time I bought this, I didn't buy the upsells because I was like, this guy's trying to take my money, right? Because I didn't know who he was. And when I read the book, I was like, holy crap, I should give this guy my money. And I went back and I funnel hacked that funnel. And I've bought this book many times from that funnel just so I could dive through it. So I encourage you to buy slowly, right? Watch what he's doing, not just the products he's talking about. Watch what he's doing. Watch why he's doing it. Try and understand why he's doing it. Watch, and it will show you a way to make money that is not hard, okay? It's like anything, there's some work behind it. but it's shockingly less work than I thought it was going to be for the amount of money that comes off it. I was like, huh. And I have built many of these now, and they've been very, very lucrative and fun, and have helped more people than how I was trying to do stuff the old way. So what's better than getting impact and income? Anyway, guys, hopefully, again, that was helpful to you. Use the link down below. Get your copy of it. That book is near and dear to my heart. It will be for the rest of my life. Frankly, it'll be one of the books that I require my kids to read. They're only like not even 5 years old yet. So, but I almost feel like I should start reading it to them, bedtime stories or something like that, because this is daddy doctrine right here. I will not read this. I will not pass this info on. I feel like that'd be selfish. All right, guys, thanks so much. Use the link below. Go get your copy, and let me know how it is. Bye. Oh yeah. Hey, obviously a funnel's already dead if you can't even get anyone to opt in, right? So I spent 4 hours teaching an audience how to get high opt-ins, when they work, when they don't work. If you want access to that members area where you can watch those replays, just go to freeoptincourse.com to create your free members account now.